Okay, welcome everybody to Job Hunting for Those Over 50. My name is Paul Steensland, and I'm going to be your host for this evening. The presenter is Mr. Frank Alaniz. Frank Alaniz is an Air Force veteran, mentor, and project manager with over a decade of successful experience in project management, public speaking, and workforce program development. Frank specializes in workforce programs, human resources technologies, and workforce analytic tools. Frank regularly develops hiring campaigns to assist employer and job seeker interaction, and is a contributor / speaker to the Missouri Association for Workforce Development, MAWG, Business Persons Between Jobs, BBJ, and Beyond Networking, STL. We are very happy to have Frank joining us this evening, but I do want to give you a couple of ground rules before Frank begins his presentation. If you have any questions, please ask. We are overjoyed to receive them. Please put them in the chat until Frank finishes his presentation, and then after that we will take all questions in order. We'll also let you unmute your mics and ask any questions that you may have verbally. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the tables over to Mr. Frank Alaniz.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Paul. Paul and I have been bantering back and forth for seems like 10 years or more. And every time I see Paul, I learn from him, and hopefully that's a reciprocated effect. We're going to have a great conversation today. Now, it's not going to be in depth, so I'm not going to go into the minutia, but what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to look for a job over 50. It's really that simple. And I'm going to give you some insights from what I've learned, and I'm going to give you some guidance or suggested tips and things from what I've learned over the last several years. And we need to understand that there's been a lot of changes in the way we look for a job, a lot of changes. I've gone through changes myself as a career strategist, trying to figure out how employers are finding us, if they're finding us, and what we can do from there. A lot of people say there are no jobs. No, there are jobs. You're just doing it wrong. And so that's where we want to start today. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And let's jump right in. Now, I'm going to minimize my screen here. So I'm not going to be able to see you. But like Paul said, if you have any questions, just drop it in the chat, or jot them down, hold them till the end, and then we'll continue the conversation from there. So job hunting over 50. In actuality, this should be job hunting over 38. But seems like 50 is a good round number. Plus, I can spell 50. I'm not sure if I can spell 38 or not. And yes, my name is Frank Alaniz, and I am the all-around nice guy. So today's topics are really simple. Do you remember? And we're going to hit a few highlights from that. We're going to talk about relevancy, and that's going to be spread out through the entire discussion this evening. And we're going to talk about availability, how that has changed. We're going to go over some finer points about LinkedIn. We're going to talk about your resume. We're going to talk about applications. And then we're going to talk about the hidden workforce, which is a lot of us nowadays. And so we need to address those concerns as well. So do you remember when someone, could be an employer, could be a mentor, could be somebody in your world, said to you, I'm not sure you're a good fit for this job. You're probably going to be bored. And how many of you took that as gospel? It's okay. You know, I understand. I have worked with people and I just came for an interview and I didn't get the job. Oh, really? What happened? Well, they told me I was going to be bored. And so, well, did you counteract that? And they're like, well, no, what can I do? Well, it's really simple. If you're going to be bored, tell me how you feel that I'm going to be bored. So let's discuss this job a little bit more. So I'm going to be joining your team. When I join your team, I'm going to have to learn your company culture. I'm going to have to learn your management style. I'm going to have to learn the way you do this job. I'm not sure that I'm going to be bored. I think I'm going to be fairly busy over the next 6, 12, 18 months. Then I might start thinking about relaxing a little bit. Probably still not bored. So if you accept the excuse, then yes, you're going to be bored. But that's also one of those hidden terms that just say you're not really fit for this job. You seem to be overqualified. You know, I've heard this. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with a consulting company a couple of weeks back, and they go, well, Frank, you've got all of these wonderful credentials. You've got all this wonderful experience. You know, you seem to be a bit overqualified for this job. You know, why are you looking at this position? So I pulled out my resume and my little trusty highlighter. And actually, this was all virtual, so I shared my screen. And I went over everything that they were asking. And I said, so you are asking for somebody with 5 years experience in technical training. There it is. You're asking for somebody with blah, blah, blah. There it is. You're asking for somebody with yada, yada, yada. There it is. So how does that make me overqualified? You know, so again, if you rely on that pat, okay, I just need to move you along answer without justifying your existence, then yeah, you're probably unemployed. Your skills are outdated. And I see this all the time. I presented an individual to an employer, and the employer goes, well, this individual is unemployed, so I'm not sure their skills are up to date. And I looked at the employer and I said, he just got laid off on Friday. It's Monday. I don't think he's lost, you know, at this giant skills loss over the weekend. And so I caught the employer, and again, one of those pat things. So tell me how your skills will show me. Let me talk to you about how my skills apply to your organizational needs. These are just pat statements that are a lot of employers, not all, but a lot of employers use to, again, just move you along. Your availability does not meet our requirements. Now, this is brand new. This is probably a year or less old. And I'm starting to see this more and more, or hear this more and more from job seekers. And we're going to talk about availability in just a couple of minutes. So I'm not going to go too deep, but keep in mind that this is coming around the corner for a lot of us. Today's job roles have changed, and absolutely, we're right in the middle of a downturn in the economy where we've got, you know, 10 million plus job openings, but doesn't seem like anybody's hiring. They are, but they're being very, very strategic about it. And so, but this is the best statement that I can say. Today's job roles have changed. The way we did business pre-COVID to the way we're doing business today is absolutely 100% changed. And we as an individual need to adapt to that change. And then finally, you've been unemployed too long. And this is typically an unspoken rule. And we're going to get into that a little bit when we get further into the conversation. But how long have you been unemployed? And that's a problem in itself. Back in the olden days, we had employers that would screen out people for long gaps of unemployment. So there's so many things that we can do to overcome that. And so we're going to have a short conversation on some of that as well. So let's talk about relevancy. I went to a recruiter group meeting, and there's 150 recruiters worldwide in this group. And we were having a great conversation about this term relevancy. And one of the recruiters said, what I'm looking for is what you can do today. I really don't care what you've done in the past. Again, remember those job roles have changed. So we need to make sure that we are relevant in today's job search strategy. We need to understand today's technology. Paul and I were just having this conversation. I picked up a contract with a company and all they did was use Zoom. So I had to learn Zoom. That contract ended, picked up another contract, and the company just used Teams. So I had to learn Teams. And then picked up another contract and it was just Meet, Google Meet. Now I'm back to Microsoft Teams with this new contract. And so what you need to understand is you need to adapt. Some of the feedback that I'm getting from recruiters, it's this simple. If you don't know how to use the software, if you don't know how to present yourself appropriately, because part of the interview process, probably a good 8 out of 10 times, I can't use you. I'm almost should be retired. And I'm still on average 5 days a week, sometimes as many as 3 to 5 times a day in some type of virtual conference, conferencing, meeting, or whatever you want to call it. And so you need to understand this is today's tools. Again, job requirements have changed. And then more importantly, you need to present the perfect you. So if I were to invite you out to my campus, I'm a large employer, you know how to dress, right? You know what to do. You're going to walk in, you're going to shake my hand. We're going to have this grandiose conversation. And then you're going to wow me off my feet so that I offer you the opportunity. Then why aren't you doing this on Zoom or Teams or Meet or whatever program you're using? Or they're using, more importantly. And so you need to be aware this video conferencing is here to stay. It's going to be around a long time. And so again, job roles have changed. This is one of those changes. Today's resume. How many of you have a resume that's old school? Just everybody raise your hand, except for Nicole, because Nicole and I have been tweaking a resume every 11 minutes. But if your resume is more than, a resume style is more than 3 to 5 years, it's old school and it's outdated. What about your skills? Are your skills outdated? Like we talked about earlier, you've been unemployed for a while. Have you kept up with today's technology? No, or yes. What's the answer? Problem is employers are asking, they want to know, and they're going to look at that piece of paper, virtual piece of paper, and they're going to tell almost immediately whether your skills are outdated or not. LinkedIn, you know, I talk about LinkedIn all the time. I do probably 5 LinkedIn workshops a year. And we're going to have a conversation actually in January after the holidays on LinkedIn. So is your LinkedIn profile incomplete? I see that all the time. I met with a young lady late last week and she goes, can you take a look at my LinkedIn? I looked at it and you could tell that it wasn't complete. And more importantly, she was an administrative professional that has gone to school to complete her certifications for IT, but there was nothing about those IT skills that she currently possesses. It was all about typing and filing and doing all those clerk type things. So her LinkedIn profile tells the wrong story. So what about yours? When was the last time you took a good hard look at your LinkedIn profile? Old school job search strategy. So I have never been a proponent of job boards, except they are useful because they provide a ton of resources. A lot of them are free. Some of them are paid. Never pay for anything that you can get free though. But sitting down, how many of you actually jumped on Indeed today and did the old Indeed search? Wrong answer. You know, I have all my jobs delivered to my my mobile phone every morning, anywhere from 15 to 30 brand new jobs that are less than 3 days old. Every day shows up on my phone. And my wife hates it because my phone starts going ding, 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 ding. But it's a good thing because then I get to look, I get to understand what employers are looking for. Not networking or limited. How many of you actually network for a living? If you're not networking, you're not looking for a job. Now there's virtual networking now. So while there are a lot of excuse me, in-house networking programs, there's a ton of virtual networking. As a matter of fact, at 2 o'clock today, I did a virtual networking event for about 45 minutes with a bunch of engineers. And so we had a great conversation. We talked about jobs. We talked about St. Louis. We had one individual who doesn't want to live in St. Louis anymore. He'd like to move to Austin. So I gave them some resources about and around the Austin area. So, but that's the thing. It's about networking. And then there are the excuses. There are no jobs or jobs that I want. So let me tell you, Indeed, what it does, it's a job scraper. So if you're using Indeed as your main job search tool, let me explain to you. How many have you all have heard of ZipRecruiter? And their motto is, for an employer, give me your job and we will post it on the top 100 social media sites. Cool. Now, guess what? That job has just been posted 101 times on Indeed. Okay, now they have worked on their filters, so I'm not sure exactly if it's 101 times, but it's a lot. And so therein lies the problem. When you open up Indeed, you get 3 kabillion search results. Are you actually going to look at 3 kabillion jobs? No. What do? You go through the first page of 25 jobs, second page of 25 jobs, maybe part of the third page, and you go, these are all the jobs I saw yesterday, versus actually looking. And what you then go, well, I've been looking for a job and there are no jobs, or again, or that I want. I must have, and fill in the blanks, I must have $1 million an hour. That's what I told one employer. And he goes, well, we'll pay you blah an hour. But are your skills worth $1 million an hour? Okay, it's not how much you want, it's how valuable your skills are to that employer. If you've been embedded in one organization for a very long time, so are your skills, spread out amongst everybody, or are they just embedded into that one organization? So again, does that make your skills valuable to another organization? And the next thing is what makes you think that those skills are relevant to that new employer? So again, you've got a little bit of soul searching to do. I'm tired of applying and getting rejected or not hearing back. So when you apply for a job and you're automatically rejected for the job, I could venture to say 8 times out of 10, you did not complete the application correctly. Or your resume did not meet the core values that that employer was looking for. And how many of you have ever applied for a job and not get any feedback, including that stupid little letter that says, thank you very much, no one will ever call you? And if you're not getting that little note back, and it should come within 24 hours or less, that means one of 2 things. 1, you did not complete the application correctly. 2, again, your resume did not meet the core values of that employer. Availability. I thought I would throw this in because it is dramatically changed. Remember when availability was, are you available for travel? So my last full-time it wasn't a real job, but my last full-time job, the first thing they said, well, travel is 90%. Are you good with that? And I said, as long as you're footing the bill, I'm okay with that. And then, or relocation. We don't pay for relocation, or this job is in Austin, so you have to relocate to Austin. Well, availability has changed. It actually means something different today. First thing is, are you remote? only. In other words, I never want to go into the office. I want to work from home. And that's my best solution. So having a remote position, then you need to source or look for remote positions. And not only that, your LinkedIn needs to say, I'm remote only, and you need to address that in your cover letter. I'm only interested in remote positions only. In-house only. I have a lot of people that I've worked with over the last year that say, I don't want to work from home. I want to go into the office. And this was really hard to do when we had a lot of companies who were closed, not physically closed, but 90% of their employment workforce was working remotely. And so again, this is a self-identifying factor in today's availability. And then the last is a hybrid. So I'm willing to work both remote and in-house. So 3 days in-house, 2 days remote, or 3 days remote, 2 days in-house, however you want to do it. That's what you need to kind of understand. And so you need to address this availability. I'm already starting to see on online applications where they're asking that question up front. And you put remote only and this job is in-house, you just lost. So again, make sure that when you're looking at these applications, if they self-identify as this is a remote position in-house or it's a hybrid, that you're well aware of what that means. So availability is the new thing, the new kid on the block right now. Let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn. LinkedIn has got a lot of information out there. LinkedIn is actually a sales tool, and they are going to market to you every day. Now, if you're a LinkedIn power user, then you may want to consider paying the $50, $40, whatever it is for a month for a LinkedIn professional side of LinkedIn. Or if you're just using LinkedIn just to find a job, just to network, just to put feelers out, see what's going on out there, LinkedIn is fairly robust without having to pay for it. But that's a personal decision that you're going to have to make. So LinkedIn screening, a lot of people ask me, you've been a recruiter, how do you use LinkedIn? And so I'm going to let you know right up front that average LinkedIn view time of your LinkedIn profile is the same as your resume, roughly 30 seconds or less. And I've got recruiters that literally are looking for two things. They don't see it, they're gone. So you're talking probably 5 to 8 seconds because they've learned to do this well in advance of seeing your profile. So these are the common things. Name, do I know you? Are we connected? What are those things on your profile that I can readily identify? Your headline. Your headline is the first thing when I, as a recruiter, do a search on LinkedIn for a candidate, the first results come from your headline. So how robust is your headline? Does it say, I'm searching for a new opportunity, or does it actually tell me what you bring to the table, not what you've done before? And so that's what I'm going to look at first. The next thing I'm going to look at is job titles. Have you held similar to the positions that I am currently recruiting for? If you have a unique job title, like my previous job title was workforce development manager, band, blah, 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 so that really didn't match. So I had LinkedIn job titles that were matched the opportunities that I was currently looking for. Skills. They're going to scroll down your page and they're going to run into those skills. The top 3 skills that are listed on LinkedIn. And so what are those skills? And I need to know. You need to know. Because if it's things like Microsoft, it's at PowerPoint. I saw one the other day that said fax. I'm like, what is this person trying to say? And so I'm scrolling just like I'm going to scroll your resume. And if I don't see what I'm looking for, it's real simple for me to go next. I'm going to be looking for your availability. And as a matter of fact, LinkedIn has put this in where you can show your availability. It's not very robust. They're still working out all of the kinks, but it's there, or drop it into your about section. However you want to do that, it's entirely up to you. And then education. Keep in mind that education, if required. Pre-COVID, the number of jobs that were posted that actually contained education was roughly about 67%, did not contain any educational requirement. Doesn't mean it's there, not required. It just didn't showcase that. So understand what you're bringing to the table. Make sure that your education and your certifications and your additional training is available or there on LinkedIn. How to be found, LinkedIn tips. So networking, number one way to get a job has been and always will be networking. And so LinkedIn is a fabulous networking tool. Connect with people who can help you find a job or help move forward in your job search technique. Your headline, again, it needs to be very robust. It needs to be part of this process that identifies what you bring to the table. Using the right keywords. Keywords are the foundation. When I do a search on LinkedIn, what I'm doing is I'm looking for the right skills for my opportunity. And using the right keywords is going to be your success story in this process. Understanding search engine optimization, or SEO. LinkedIn will optimize, or you can optimize your LinkedIn profile so that you can move to the top of the list. Typically, when a recruiter pulls a LinkedIn search requirements, they get anywhere from 200 to 500 results. I can tell you, if you're in the bottom of those 500 results, there's almost guaranteed that I'm never going to get to your name. But if you're in the top 100 of those search results, that means that you have a chance of being found. And that's where I am. Right now, I'm in the top 25 of every search that you can think about my skills that I bring to the table. And that's because my LinkedIn profile is SEO. Build the right network. Your network is incumbent upon you to build. And it's really simple. You're going to build your networks, not necessarily with friends and family, unless they can help you get a job in your industry, but you're going to build your network based on industry professionals, recruiters, HR, talent acquisition, and you're going to build your network based on you and what you can give back to the community, and then hopefully what the community can give to you as well. So my first LinkedIn tip, or one of my LinkedIn tips, I guess not necessarily the first, there is a setting on LinkedIn that says you're looking for a job. Now, to tell you the truth, what it does is it puts a nice little green circle and says I'm open for opportunities, which is fabulous. But this should be the only mention on your profile that you're looking for work. I really don't like it when, as a recruiter, I pull up and all it's doing is telling me I'm looking for a job and I need a job today and help me find a job, and and that because you seem needy, and I don't need any more problems. What I need is somebody that can do the job. Again, this is the number one faux pas. I just worked with a young lady and who has a PhD in economics. And the first thing her headline says is, I'm seeking my new and greatest opportunity. Can you help me? And I'm like, no. First of all, as a recruiter, since your headline is the first thing that comes up, I'm going to guarantee, not 100%, but let's say 99.9% of the time, I don't know a single recruiter who's going to type into that search box, I wonder who's searching for their next career. That's not what this is all about. I want to know what skills you bring to the table, and that's what that headline is designed for. Do not make your most recent job as unemployed. My recommendation is, yes, you can go ahead and code that as or that you're no longer with that organization, but create a job around looking for a job. Fill that new job full of keywords based on the job that you're sourcing for. And if you have any questions, reach out to me on LinkedIn, and hopefully I'll be able to answer those questions for you. As we've talked so far, none of these will help you get a job. And in a lot of cases, they're going to help or actually hurt you in finding an opportunity, because what's going to happen is the recruiter, the HR person, or whoever sourcing for that particular organization is not going to find you. Or if they do, they're going to skip right over you. Remember, your profile is a sales page for the value you add to the world, not a Wikipedia page cataloging everything that you've ever done. And that's a problem. The About section is your virtual marketing page. In today's virtual world, it's all about me finding you. And what I need to know is, what can you do for my organization? What have you done today? Not yesterday, not 2 years ago, not 15 years ago. What are you doing today to help my organization be successful? Or excuse me, what can you do today? Put the accomplishments that you have on your resume in this section. So if you take a look at my resume, you take a look at my LinkedIn, I've won several major awards, national awards and state awards. And not only are on my LinkedIn profile, they are on my resume. I just won another national award, at the end of last year. And I haven't put it on my LinkedIn because I'm not really looking for a job per se, but it's actually on my resume now. It's something that I bring to the table to help that employer. Make sure your text is spaced out enough. And I see people trying to cram as much information into their LinkedIn profile as possible. There are character limitations. Your headline has, I think, 110 characters. Your About section has got a little over 2,000 characters. You want to use as much of that space as absolutely possible. But once you are done, open that puppy up on your phone and see if it reads okay. If you got a huge, long 10 paragraph, nobody's going to scroll. First of all, I don't have opposable thumbs, so I'm not going to scroll. So if I don't scroll, what makes you think an employer is going to scroll? So again, make sure it looks good, not only on your laptop or desktop or whatever program that you're using, but more importantly, the mobile devices. Don't forget your contact information. I know LinkedIn will allow you to share your email. It's in part of the settings, but I've got my email on my LinkedIn profile, my Twitter handle. I always say no Facebook, but I've had a lot of people come back to me and say, what if I have a business page? If it's related to the positions that you're looking for, you're just not trying to sell things, then yes, I would say that would be optimal. But if you don't, if you just have a Facebook page, then no, don't put that on there. Start connecting. This is the number one thing to do. Join groups. LinkedIn has got some very, very robust groups. They're industry. So if you're in the IT industry, join IT groups and networking groups. So you can belong to St. Louis Job Angels. It's one of the largest networking groups here in St. Louis. And even if you're not from St. Louis, join my group as well. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up opportunities. I think right now I have about 5,000 active members on my group, and a little over 1,000 are HR, talent acquisition recruiters, sourcers, community and diversity representatives. And so I get job postings there every day. Connect And then once you've joined those groups and you've been accepted, some in groups will automatically connect with you. Some groups will actually vet you. My group, I actually vet you. But once you get in that group, then what you can do now, if this is a nationwide group with 10,000 members, this is probably not really good for you to do. But if you join a local IT group, an industry group, or a networking group, go through that group. And they're going to get a membership list, not a physical list, but a virtual list. And then look through that list, and anybody that's a recruiter, HR, talent acquisition, a sourcer, or community or diversity representative, connect with them and then write them a personal note. Hey, my name is Frank, and I'd love to connect with you. We're both part of fill in the blank group. And I'd love to, keep this conversation going, whatever you want to say. Connect with people who can help you professionally and personally. Don't forget, LinkedIn is all about giving back as well. So make sure that you are not always asking, that you're helping too. LinkedIn indicates that in order to be found, you must have 50 connections. However, to be SEO, search engine optimized, you must have a minimum of 300 connections. So if you're not there yet, my recommendation is start reaching out. And connect with me if you're not already connected. Build the right network. I've talked about this forever. And this is my latest version of this slide. And here's my network. I think we're at about 4,000 strong right here. But you can see there's my professional group. So all of that blue, my business groups. So these are all the people that I work with within organizations. My employment network. These are those individuals who are unemployed, and hopefully I can add a bit of knowledge to them so that they can move forward. My IT group, which is the biggest of the group because I'm vetted into the IT world. Career managers, career strategists, talent acquisition, and which includes recruiters, TAs, HRs, and the rest. And then, of course, I'm still sitting on several boards, so I think I've got 6 board members here that I'm connected to as well. So this kind of gives you an idea of where you should be taking this. Every one of those blue and red dots on there are people that I've networked with both professionally and on a one-on-one basis. I've helped them, they've helped me. And if we take a look at this, it looks kind of cool, but more importantly, it's my network. And that's what you should be striving to do. Let's talk a little bit about resumes. I always get in trouble when I talk about resumes. And the reason is because I can't tell you how many resumes I've just ripped to shreds. And so we need to understand, as experienced workers, resumes can either help us or hurt us. And we need to kind of rethink our resume design strategy. So is your resume old school? No more than 10 years on experience on your resume. There are some exceptions. You theoretically can go up to 15 years, but keep in mind, 15 years ago, we were barely had started LinkedIn. We had, well, actually LinkedIn wasn't around yet, but there was no Facebook, no Twitter, no Google as we know it. So how well are those skills from 15 plus years ago actually going to help you get a job? They're not. I can tell you that for sure. Your current resume style is more than 3 years old. There are resume styles, absolutely. And I can take a look at a resume and go, yep, this is from 7.5 years ago. And so why are you still using that? And again, it's not how old you are, it's how up to date you appear. Excuse me. So we really, as experienced workers, need to be up to date. Having an old style resume, all that's going to do is hinder our job search process. A single page resume that you spam to all employers. I met with one young lady probably about 6 months ago. She sent me her resume and I said, no, we need to redo something. No, this is a resume that I used to get my last job 22 and a half years ago. And it's a good luck resume and I'm going to use it. Okay, well then I can't help you. You need to understand that things have changed, and certainly the resume strategy has changed as well. Is your resume customized to a specific position, job, or application? If it isn't, then you're going to get rejected. It's really that simple. And so we need to start customizing. Now, I'm not saying rebuild your resume. I'm talking about customizing that resume to make sure that it meets the employer's needs. 80 to 85% of your resume should remain static. The rest need to correspond to what that employer is looking for. TMI, too much information. Saw a resume the other day that was 5 pages long, and no, it wasn't mine. But it was 5 long pages. I mean, huge, 15, 20 blocks of experience, of lines of experience per job. And it went back, probably good 25, 30 years. And so when I said, nope, let's get rid of this and this and this and this, well, those were my best jobs and they don't mean anything today. And so again, that term relevant comes out. Not enough relevant information. I want to know what you can do for me today. I really don't care what you did for somebody else in the past. Why? Because what makes you think that what you did for that company will work with my company? And so we need to make sure that we are providing the best information and the most relevant information. On average, most recruiters spend less than 30 seconds per resume to determine if you're a potential match for their position. Now I'm being generous at 30 seconds. I'm literally talking 10 seconds or less to determine whether you're going to be a great fit for my organization. I've read enough resumes over my career that literally it's taking me probably a good, I like most of you here, so I'm going to probably give you a good 12 to 15 seconds. On average, though, I'm less than 8 seconds taking a look at a resume. Approximately 70% of the employers that were recently surveyed by Harvard indicated that resumes without core items are deal breakers and would cause them to reject the candidate before they even finish reading the resume and or application. And that's a problem. If you're being rejected, once you get through the process because you have an old school resume. And so we need to start thinking about those. This is where most individuals fail by not having a resume that contains core items for every position that you apply for. And so I'm sure that your resume has these things, right? I'm hoping everybody's shaking their head, yes. But if it doesn't, then why are you spending 2 or 3 hours going click, 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 click on a job application when you know you're going to get rejected? And so I don't know about you, but I don't have too many more 2 hours left in my world. And so what we have to do is understand things have changed. On average, the recruiter focuses on the following items. When I get your resume, first thing I want to do is I'm going to look at your name. And why? Because are you a connection of mine? Are you an internal referral, which actually will boost your chance of getting an interview by about 60% if you have an internal referral from that organization. Are you a previous applicant? And so, excuse me, I want to know, have we met before, virtually or in person? Dates. Do you have the required amount of relevant experience? Now, dates are a good thing, but they can also be a bad thing. Why? Because if you're applying for a job that requires, let's say, 2 to 5 years experience, and your dates cover a 25-year period, you've just been eliminated by the robot. Why? Because you have too much experience and I only need somebody with entry-level experience. Oh, and by the way, entry-level is now 3 or 5 years experience. Job titles. Have you held similar positions in the past? That can be a little tricky, but there's ways around. There's ways to provide a applicable job title and still address your current or previous job title. So that's another discussion point. And required skills. Do you possess the required relevant skills? And again, just like this young lady who is now trying to find a job in IT, we looked at her LinkedIn profile, we looked at her resume, and guess what? It was all office management tools. And so, no, she did not possess any of the relevant experience. And her excuse was, well, I went to school and I got the certifications, and yeah, but it still didn't address what we were looking for. And then education. Does your education meet the job requirements? So do you have the right credentials? Do you have the right certifications? Do you have the right education background? So there's my 8 seconds in a nutshell. And so that's going to kind of give you an idea of what you need to concentrate on. Your resume must contain keywords relevant to the job. It's as simple as that. Again, that generic resume is not going to work for you. Use the most critical keywords from that job posting at more than once. I typically use the rule of 3. So I will use my skills for that job in my skills section in my summary, and either my experience or education or both. Who says you can't use it more than 3 times? But what that's going to do is it's going to boost my ranking on the application and then move me to get it in front of the hiring manager. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. Generic resumes are the enemy of an ATS or applicant tracking system, the online application. Trying to horn everybody into everything that you've done into one application or one resume doesn't work anymore. This is not old school. This is technology school. So if you have a job, if you're looking for a job in the IT, then you need to have an IT resume. If you have skills and training, then you have an IT resume and a training resume. And if you have skills as a project manager, now you have 3 resumes, an IT resume, a training resume, and a project manager resume. Then yes, you can have that catch-all resume that you're going to use as, excuse me, use at either virtual career fairs or in-house career fairs, or that you can use to network with as well. Avoid extra lines, fancy graphics, and boxes. It's really simple. I'm not trying to dumb down your resume. I just want to make sure that your resume will parse. What that means is that the online application will pick it up and read it correctly. Keep the resume relevant. Notice we've said relevant multiple times so far. And that's what we need to understand. It's all about what you can do for me today. Again, not what you've done for somebody else in the past. Some formatting tips. Change your font to Garamond or Helvetica. And the reason is because these are universal fonts. I live in the Mac world, and I know a lot of us do nowadays. I really don't use Microsoft products. I use Google products. And here's the problem. When you send me a New Times Roman resume, Google is going to strip out New Times Roman and it's going to change it to a Google font. And that means all your formatting is going to go out the door. And you're going to have misspelled words that aren't misspelled words. You're going to have blocks of text that have now shifted. But by using a universal font, the chances of that happening are less and less and less. So change your fonts, and both of these fonts look absolutely wonderful. So give it a try. I think you'll be amazed of how much this will change your world. You want to save your resume as a DOC versus a DOCX. This applies actually to most older online applications that are probably 3 to 5 to 10 years old. Most of the latest versions, this doesn't matter anymore. The problem is you don't know how old this is. So what we're going to do is default to a doc. Why? It does not contain HTML. Docx, it's a virtual file. And so a lot of these older systems will not accept it. And so you upload your resume as a Docx and it doesn't work. You just lost 70% of your score and nobody's going to call you. So basically what you're going to do now is you're going to have 3 or 2 versions. You're going to have a doc version of your resume. So a Microsoft Word version that's a DOC that you can upload or copy to the online application. And then you're going to have a PDF version. And that PDF version is the only time, or a majority of the time, you're going to use that to email your resume. And that's when you should use it the most. Now, there are some online applications that require that you upload a PDF version of your resume. So make sure you read and follow the directions carefully. But if it doesn't require a PDF only, I'm going to default to a DOC. Review the job posting, ensure that you've included relevant keywords in your resume. If you're a veteran, oh, we are getting close. If you're a veteran, it's really simple. I need you to add your veteran status, include your security clearance. So at the end of your summary, put U.S. Air Force veteran, current secret security clearance, however you want to do that. Use a military skills translator. And at the bottom of your resume, or the very first page, not in the footer, but the line above your footer, I need you to put your MOS AFSC rate, your military occupational code, MOC. So all you need to do put is MOS 74 Delta, 88 Mike, what it needs to do from there. So I want to talk really quickly. I know I'm running a little long, but online screeners. Back in the old days, I recommended online screeners a lot, and I trained people how to use them. But today, those recommendations are being problematic. When you take a look at keyword finders or resume screeners, we found some problems with those. A lot of times they are specific to a particular industry or specific to a particular resume style or specific to a particular style of applicant tracking system, or they haven't been updated for a while. I looked at one just recently and it was literally 8 years old was the last time they updated it, and that's not going to work in today's world. So my recommendation, based on my previous recommendation, my current recommendation is not to use them. But we do have a solution. What I'm looking for is a hybrid style resume versus a chronological or a functional resume. I'm looking for a hybrid. Review the job posting. Use their words, not yours. When you look on a resume and you're going to build that resume, my recommendation is you build that resume based on what the employer wants, not what you think they want. Paul, I think we are just about 5 minutes left. Is it okay to continue?
Certainly. I can hang out, Frank, as long as you have material, and
yeah.
I'm sure everyone else would like you to continue.
Okay, great. Then I'm going to go ahead and continue. I'm sorry, I'm kind of long-winded. It's been a fun day here in metal shop land. So let's talk a little bit about applicant tracking systems, or an ATS, or commonly known as online applications. Many large companies have ATS programs in place to help assess a candidate's qualifications. While many of us do not like the online application or the ATS programs, if you manage the application correctly, they can actually help your ranking and the overall selection process. The ATS will convert your application and your resume into a digital profile which then ranks you your overall match to the job posting. So it's a combination of the application and a combination of your resume. Recruiters will then search these profiles for potential matches that meet the job description qualifications. Now, I'm going to let you know that really simply, as a recruiter, I've used many of these programs. And if you don't do this correctly, I'm never going to see you. And that's a problem for you, not for me, because I'm going to see the top 10 people that I want to look at, but it's a problem for you because I truly need you to be in that top 10 group. Back in the old days, we used to email or mail our resume to employers, hoping they would read it and go, hey, this is a great company, or this is a great individual, let's call them in. That doesn't happen so much anymore, except if you apply for a job and let's say you don't make that particular position. Your information is stored in their applicant tracking system, which allows the recruiter to go in and search for you. Again, that's a possible match. So again, if you do this correctly, you might have more opportunities than you can think about. Up to 75% of the applicants who apply for a job are eliminated within the first 10 minutes of the application process. Why? Their resume does not contain the appropriate information. So you'll go online and you immediately apply, and the first thing they say is, upload your resume. You upload your resume and the system rejects you because your resume does not meet the criteria. Of the remaining applicants, up to 60% are eliminated when they submit the application because they did not complete the application correctly. There's a science behind this, literally. And I've had people go, that's not how ours works. And I really don't care how your works per se. Educate me. I want to know how you hire versus are you hiring? And then help me navigate your application so that my resume lands on your desk. Those are the questions that you should be asking employers, not, hey, do you have any jobs? They're going to hire eventually, hopefully. And so I want to know how to navigate this mess in order to get my resume to land on your desk. The term eliminated actually means your overall ATS ranking fell below the threshold of the ranked candidates for this position. So no, you're not being eliminated. You're not being blacklisted, all those other terms. It just means you did not score high enough to get through the process. The ATS program should respond by generating a thank you email indicating you were successful in completing their application process. So if you never got that thank you note, chances are you did not complete the application correctly. Some ATS tips. Number one, read and follow all directions. It's that simple. Yes, there are directions. They may not be exactly on the page of the application, but there are directions. If the system requires you to upload your resume, upload a Docx versus Docx version of your resume, unless it says PDF only. Then once you upload your resume, don't assume that it uploaded correctly, because if your resume is not geared for that upload, then there's a good chance it didn't. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to read every block on that application, which is going to take a wee bit longer, but that means you're going to get the information to them correctly. The system requires a copy and paste version of your resume. Again, copy from a DOC or a text version, TXT version, to ensure the data parses correctly. I typically upload a text file because then it's text to text. I literally don't have to make any corrections, but just kind of keep that in mind and make sure that, again, that the information is being displayed correctly. Answer all questions, even if they don't apply. Type not applicable versus NA or N/A. I like to be as clear as possible when I'm completing these applications. Questions that are not required should be identified by the organization as such. And there are sometimes a lot of questions that aren't required. or are volunteer answers. So you decide what's appropriate for you and answer those questions or not. But all other questions must be answered. If possible, review your application prior to submitting. Keep in mind that some applications will have a preview button. You can preview, but you can't make changes. You actually have to re-enter the application to make changes. Final notes. Once a recruiter has determined the top candidates, they will usually contact those candidates and set up some type of telephonic or Zoom virtual screening process. And that's exactly what it is. It's a screening process to determine, if they want to move you forward or not. Make sure you have an appropriate voicemail and it's not full, or that it's not business-like. Make sure that it is business-like, I'm sorry to say. Ask questions and take notes. And then make sure you follow up. You follow up with everything. How many of you actually follow up after you apply for a job? Oh, I didn't hear anybody. So other than me, and Nicole hopefully is doing that again, you need to follow up with every job that you apply for. The recruiter may invite you for an in-person interview with the hiring manager or hiring team, or it could be a virtual interview as well. The hiring process may take anywhere from a couple of weeks to several months, depending on the company's process. Anything can slow that process down, from vacations, review of additional candidates, budgets. I'm currently in my 4th month of an interview process with a company, because first the recruiter went on vacation and the CEO went on vacation, and then now the budget has to be redone because it's the end of the year, blah, 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 blah. So, just keep rolling along. Stay connected with your recruiter if possible. So make sure that that recruiter is going to answer your questions, follow up, thank them, and then stay connected from them. Here's my secret: hidden workforce. Harvard University polled a ton and had tons of conversation with businesses. So this is from the business side, and we actually, everyone in this virtual session is part of that hidden workforce. And so what we need to do is understand what that is. So what is a hidden workforce? They're veterans like myself, like others veterans. Why? Because our skills are not defined, such as corporate, from a corporate position to a corporate position. From a veteran position to a corporate position, the translation of skills is often very, very difficult. NEAT, this is the biggest of the hidden workforce. So you're not in employment, you're not in education, you're not in training, and there's a possibility that you're not degreed as well. Excuse me. But this is the largest of this group. And then we have the experienced workers. And a lot of this happens to be because we have a gap in employment. Not necessarily the skills, our skills may be relevant, but it's that gap that's holding us back. And so the hidden workforce comprises of approximately 27 million people as of September of this year. And it's growing, unfortunately. So if you're a veteran, what you need to do is translate your military skills into civilian counterparts. There's a lot of great online tools that can help you do that. Most corporations struggle to understand military skills, even at the simplest level. And so we have to talk and walk the walk, okay? And again, those skills translators, military.com, and there's a bunch of other ones. The VA had one that was very rudimentary, but it worked. And then my best advice is use their words, not yours, by including keywords associated with the position. NEAT. Most ATS don't know how to handle these individuals due to their lack of requirements. And so many online applications are geared to the employed versus the unemployed. And so a lot of times we are being lost because we're employed in the application. Make sure that you review the job posting to ensure you've met the core items. And we've talked about those items. We've talked about what you need to bring to the table. Use the rule of 3 for keyword use within your resume. The more keywords within your resume and your application, the higher you will rank, as long as they're relevant within those search requirements. Too much experience can eliminate. Like I told you before, if you're applying for jobs with, less than 5 years experience, or maybe even 5 to 8 years experience, and you're co-identifying that you have 25 years experience, the application can literally reject you. Why? You're overqualified. And they're not telling you that, the application is. These are all learning environments. The application is learning from the people who put the information in, and then it seeks to find the right answer by looking at your application and your resume. Too much information can confuse the system, or worse, reject you because you have too much information. Sometimes it's quality versus qualified. And so this is where networking comes in. Networking for your next opportunity should be your strength, not necessarily a requirement. So just kind of keep that in mind. A lot of times employers are looking for the right person for the right job. You've got the skills necessary, but do you meet our company culture? And so we need to continue, or you need to continue that conversation. Now, the experienced worker, keep to the rules. We've talked about rules, not only on LinkedIn, we've talked about your resume rules. And so you need to remember today's technology versus 10 years ago technology, or even 3 years ago technology. Gaps in work history. Half the companies surveyed indicated their online applications filter out individuals with employment gaps. And again, that's where networking comes in. Having to building that recommendation and coming to the table, or not recommendation, that network connection, and then coming to the table as an internal referral will almost always overcome this ATS filter. Keywords, keywords, keywords. And again, relevant keywords, not just packing keywords in an application. Networking has been and always will be the number one way to get a job. Back in the olden days, when I first started looking for a job, it was not who you knew, but what you knew. Remember a week ago, knock, 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 walk in, had love to talk to the manager about an opportunity, complete a paper application, and start on Monday. Today's those things don't happen. Back in the 90s, somewhere it changed to not what you knew, but who you knew. So I know the manager here, and I know the CEO there. And that was your in to getting an opportunity. Today, it's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's who you're connected to. And having those LinkedIn recommendations, those LinkedIn endorsements, and having that network built around the opportunities that you're sourcing for is going to be your success story for getting an opportunity. So let's recap. 10.5 million job openings in August of 2021. September of 2021, there was 10.45 million. So it went down a few. But that's a lot of opportunities. The biggest problem is 80% of the jobs are not posted. They are being sourced by recruiters. They're looking at your LinkedIn profile. If you're in IT, they're looking at your Git account. They're looking at Dice. They are looking for the right person for the right opportunity. And that's where you need to strive to be. The number one problem as I see it, and I haven't even seen your resume yet, is your resume. Is it old school? Is it a single page that you're spamming to every employer? Is it customized? So how many of you so far have you said, yeah, no, to the last three things? And so the number 2 problem is your application. You're sitting there going click, 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 and you're not paying attention. I've done hundreds of these things in the past, and somebody will call me, somebody will hire me, and yeah, it's been a while. And so the applications have gotten very, very sophisticated. And so we need to make sure that you're covered. Number 3 problem, you're not networking. And back in the olden days when you knocked on somebody's door, that business door, you email them a resume, or you mail them, snail mail them a resume. What was that called? Networking. So why aren't you doing it today? Number 4, using old school techniques to job search. Again, I'm not a big proponent of job search using Indeed or a lot of job boards. But I'm very, very big on networking and using technology to help me move forward. And the number 5 problem that I found job seekers are having a problem with, or that I'm having a problem with, is you're not following me on LinkedIn. So I kind of threw that in, but it's true. So I'm connected to 5,000 individuals. And a majority of those individuals are job seekers who are just like you, struggle to find opportunities. But more importantly, right now, I am connected to more than 2,000 HR, talent acquisition recruiters, diversity and business connections throughout the world, and not just in the St. Louis metro area. Not to say that I can help you, but what it is, it's all about you helping yourself. And if we were together in a nice big room, having a great conversation, drinking coffee and connecting, I would give you my business card, which you can then build into a robot. And that's my forte. So do we have any questions? Paul, I'm going to stop share. And if you'd like to turn on your mics and ask questions, or Paul, if you want to go over some questions, that would be perfect.
Frank, that was amazing. So much content in a short period of time. We have so many questions. So as long as you've got a little bit of time, I'd love to ask them.
I've got a ton of time, just like you. So if you would like to stay and participate, I'm willing to keep going. So go ahead. First question.
First question is from Jennifer Ivanovich. How do you hide your availability from your current employer?
So that's kind of tricky. First of all, don't turn on that little button that says I'm seeking an opportunity. Second thing is just build a robust LinkedIn profile. Don't indicate that you're looking. Don't put it anywhere on your profile. And if somebody asks, oh, we found your profile, what's going on? It's like, nothing. I am just, making sure that I'm covering all bases. The problem with turning on that little circle is if I'm using LinkedIn Recruiter, I can find you based on that little green icon. But if I'm not using LinkedIn Recruiter, I can see it, but it doesn't really mean anything to me. So I wouldn't worry about it. Again, just don't flip that I'm searching for a job thing. What I would do is just continue and use it as a networking event. And that's exactly what I use it. I don't have the little green button. I just use it to network. Okay.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
David Ackerman is asking, how do you network on LinkedIn when you do not know anyone in the field that you're moving towards?
Well, the thing is join industry specific groups. When I decided to become a metalsmith, multiple years ago, I thought I would, figure out who else was metalsmiths. So I wrote a little computer program to find these people on LinkedIn. And I found that there was 4 manufacturing groups that did metalsmithing on LinkedIn. And so what I did is I joined those groups And I started networking with those individuals within those groups. Now, keep in mind that you need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile matches that industry and your resume matches that industry. If your LinkedIn profile is all about carpentry and you're trying to find a job in IT, that's, I'm not going to let you into my IT group, because why? So make sure that, again, you're relevant. Okay.
Makes sense. Kelly Bottini's asking the job search angels, I guess in reference to the St. Louis Job Angels.
Yes.
Excellent.
So Job Angels, we started, I think in 2006, 2005, we started Job Angels, and I was part of that startup group. And we've been together forever. We've done, and I've had, at one time we had close to 9,000 members. And of course, as people retired and as people found opportunities, they moved on, which is perfectly fine, but we're picking up new members all the time. But if you just go into LinkedIn and go to the search field, type in St. Louis Job Angels, there are multiple job angels throughout the world. And so we're St. Louis. And then you can make that connection and just request membership. And Kelly, I now remember your first name, and I'll be glad to let you in. And if you have any questions, chances are I'll be hanging out in Job Angels or on LinkedIn. So please connect with me. Go ahead.
And I think I'm also a member of the group. So thanks for vetting me.
No problem.
Lynn Porter is asking, a lot of great information. I wholeheartedly agree. Can we have a copy of your PowerPoint?
Absolutely. You need to reach out to me and I will send you a PDF version of the PowerPoint. I'll also make it available to Paul. And so either one of us you can connect with. Please just remind me that you attended this session today. And I will be more than happy to send it to you. I get on average of about 80 to 100 emails a day. So just let me know that you attended the session.
Okay. Awesome. Stephanie K is wondering, what about multiple columns, such as a Canva designed resume?
Well, here's the problem. Having columns within within the resume. Unfortunately, what we have here is the inability for the computer, when you upload that resume, to parse those columns. I've seen applications keep the left-hand column and nothing in the right-hand column. I've seen applications that will just disregard anything that's in a column. And so you end up with a blank page, nothing parsed. While the newer applications have built-in software that will parse out those columns, you really can't rely on whether it's an old version or a new version of the software. And so I'm pretty reticent of old school, and I'm going to keep it as simple as possible to make sure, like the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. I want my garbage in and not spit out. So, but that style of resume works wonderful if you're networking, works wonderful if you're going to email that document to an employer, but it may not parse correctly. Okay.
Jennifer Ivanovich is wondering, do you suggest following the system to parse from your resume or enter manually?
I prefer to enter manually. Now that's my preference, but I can also tell you that my resume parses somewhere at the 95 to 98% rate versus your resume that is parsing at the, not necessarily Jennifer's, but most other resumes are parsing at the 15 to 30% rate. If it was me, I would manually input everything. However, we've got some applications that won't let you go won't move you forward. won't move you forward unless you upload your resume first. And again, it's elimination point. So make sure that you're covering all your bases. Okay.
Lynn Porter is asking, I feel like such a dinosaur. You're not the only one. SLCL, will you be having any more classes like resume writing or links? I'm guessing she means LinkedIn. Great questions, great suggestions. We currently have classes that do that, like LinkedIn Learning classes that show you how to use LinkedIn Learning. But honestly, we don't have resume classes. But wink, wink, Frank, if you're interested in working with us
Yes.
on that, we'd love to work with you.
Absolutely. Paul and I are already in discussion on setting up some additional classes after the first of the year. I'm also, if I may plug, I'm going to be working with St. Charles Community College in January to teach you how to apply for a job online. So it's going to be an online application class. But yes, Paul and I are working on some to continue the resume, the LinkedIn, and some other classes as well. So, stay connected with St. Louis County Library, and hopefully we'll be able to move you forward. Okay.
Thank you. Stephanie K is wondering, RTF, I presume she means rich text format.
Yep. No, RTF is a Windows file only. It doesn't work anywhere outside Windows. So if you have a RTF file, when you parse that or when you upload it to an application, you're going to spend more time correcting than if you had uploaded a doc file or a text-based file.
Excellent. Jennifer is asking, who do you follow up with when you found a position on LinkedIn?
So if I find a position on LinkedIn, there are three statuses. One, if the recruiter is identified, that means that's an internal LinkedIn job based on an internal recruiter. So you can follow up with that recruiter there. Two, if there's no recruiter listed, then chances are that's a scrape job. In other words, LinkedIn went out and found this job and posted it on their website. And then three, you get this anonymous type of position, and it's not really anonymous. So if you're networking with a group like St. Louis Job Angels, as a matter of fact, I just had a young lady, a recruiter today, post a job on St. Louis Job Angels. And so what it said is, looking for your next opportunity, PM me. And then she did hashtag IT, hashtag project management, hashtag whatever. And so what that did is it told me she's looking for a project manager. And so those are those kind of, off-site, not a job, but there is a job. So you can look at those as well. But if you need to follow up, when you come to my LinkedIn advanced class, I will tell you and teach you how to find anybody and everybody on LinkedIn. It's a little software hack and it works. Okay. And Jennifer, you and I know are trying to get a virtual cup of coffee together. We'll continue this conversation from there. Okay. All right. Go ahead. Next, Paul.
Stephanie K is asking a question that I've been asked often myself, and I'm never quite sure how to answer it. She says, should you apply for jobs on LinkedIn or directly through the company's website?
So take a look at the three options that you have. And again, if a recruiter posts something on a networking site, then reach out directly to that recruiter. Don't apply, just reach out and have a conversation. Two, if it's a LinkedIn job and it lists the recruiter and all of that, I would apply directly through LinkedIn. Now, keep in mind really quickly here, there are two types of processes. One, apply through LinkedIn to the company, and then there's the quick apply. When you do the quick apply, you push the button and it automatically sends your LinkedIn profile to that recruiter. And if your LinkedIn profile is not robust, you don't want to do that. Okay. I personally would go, again, if the recruiter on LinkedIn is applying, then that's what I would do. Or put the job out there, I'd go directly to the recruiter through LinkedIn. Otherwise, I would go to the company site. And proviso, a lot of companies will post on LinkedIn, but they won't post on their site. Or they'll post on their site and they won't post on LinkedIn. So you have to use all the tools, okay?
Stephanie K follows up, should you use a recruiter or use other methods like networking or searching on your own?
To find an opportunity, it's all about networking. I'm going to give you a little secret, and this really, really works. What I want you to do is find 10 employers on LinkedIn that you want to work for. All right. Then what I need you to do is I need you to go to their site on LinkedIn, their company page on LinkedIn, and follow them. Now, don't stop there. Over the next 3 weeks, what I need you to do is I need you to go to their company page and just scroll around. You just need to spend 30 seconds, a minute on there. And then, but you have to do it for 3 days for 3 weeks. So if you do it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and Monday, I don't really care, but 3 weeks consecutively, and at least 3 times during each of those weeks. And because LinkedIn is a learning algorithm, you're teaching LinkedIn that you're interested in those companies. And what's going to happen? LinkedIn is going to start feeding you all the jobs that that company is posting based on your qualifications. Ta-da!
That's brilliant. David Ackerman is wondering, how do you find out the best keywords?
So it's really simple. And there, again, back in the olden days, I would say, hey, go to this website and drop your resume in there. And I'm not really thrilled with those anymore because nobody's updating them. Actually, there is one company that does update, but it costs money. And if we're unemployed, we want to keep our money close to us as possible. So my recommendation is to do this. I need you to find 5 jobs, 10 jobs that you're interested in applying for. And then I want you to play like you're the employer. Grab a highlighter, a virtual highlighter, or me, old school, I print it out and I grab a highlighter. Excuse me. And then I want you to read that job posting from the very first word to the very last word. And then I want you to highlight the 10 most important things you think that employer is looking for. Now, you're not going to get 100% guaranteed. Well, not guaranteed, but pretty close to guaranteed. But what you're doing is you're learning what words employers are looking for based on that industry and those jobs. And then that will help you migrate that data to your new application, because you're now going to be used to picking out the words that employers are looking for. You're never going to hit 100%. Well, I'm never going to say never, but we can expand on that later. Okay.
Now, Frank, you could have entitled this session, Think Like a Recruiter.
Yes, absolutely.
Lynn Porter is asking a question that I bet a lot of other people are wondering, and that is, how do you network when you've worked from home for the last 8 years?
It's simple. Who do you know? And what do you do? And so there's a lot of questions around that question. One of the hardest jobs in the world is a stay-at-home parent. Because what do you have to do? You have to, you have to negotiate. You have to negotiate to get child A to place B, child B to place C. You have to talk to doctors and nurses and pharmacists, and you have to schedule when to pick up groceries and when to make meals and all of those things. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world. And so those are the things that you need to bring to the table. So whether you're a stay-at-home parent or let's say me, for the last 3 years, I've been writing code at home, having a great time. and doing things that I love to do. So when people ask me, what are you doing? Uh, I'm a software developer. And so, oh, really? What company do you work for? Well, my company, I work for me. And so talk about the things that you bring to the table and talk about relevant things. Lynn, make sure that it's easy to connect. You just have to make the connections. Just because you work for home, my son-in-law works for Ameren, and since March of 2020, he's been at home doing his job fabulously, and they've already told him, don't look at coming back into the office till sometime in 2023. And so working from home today is part of the world. So just make it happen, make it work for you. All right.
Awesome. Jennifer Ivanovich says, I'm happy to connect with everyone on LinkedIn to help build your network. Thank you, Jennifer.
Absolutely. And Jennifer and I are connected. We've been connected for a while. So, please reach out, and I'm sure that, you can make those connections work for you.
And I'm the same way. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I accept nearly all invitations.
Absolutely.
Some I'm a little hesitant to accept, but most.
Absolutely.
Stephanie K is wondering, should you use emojis and hashtags in your LinkedIn profile?
No, it's not business. This is still a business. You're creating a business. You're marketing yourself. Now, emojis and hashtags today are appropriate in some worlds. Now, I say that about your LinkedIn profile. However, if you are going to put a post, or you're on LinkedIn, or you're going to comment a post, then emojis and hashtags are appropriate there, but not on your profile. Okay.
And finally, P. Fran is wondering, can you provide details on your advanced LinkedIn class?
So my recommendation is there's two classes. There is a LinkedIn Basic, where what we do is we go step by step on how to create an optimized or SEO LinkedIn profile. And then from there, the second portion of LinkedIn is the advanced LinkedIn program. And so what you can look at, or what we do, is we teach you all of the tips and tricks on how you utilize LinkedIn. So we show you how to connect to people. We also talk about how to find people, and we talk about how to find jobs on LinkedIn. And so that gives us a wonderful overview, or gives you a wonderful overview of how to create a very good LinkedIn profile, and then next use the tips and tricks to find the right opportunities and the right connections. Okay.
Those sound like fantastic classes to attend.
Absolutely. And like I said, Paul and I will solidify those opportunities. We'll send an invite to everybody here, and then hopefully you'll be able to join us fairly soon after the 1st.
I hope so. And speaking of other classes, I just posted some upcoming classes that we're going to be holding at St. Louis County Library. These are classes that I'll be teaching. Hope that you can join us both on Saturday, January 8th, 2022, and Monday, February 14th, 2022. Unless anyone has any more questions, or unless Frank has anything more he'd like to say.
All I can say, really, thank you for staying with me this long. I really, really appreciate it. And you can reach out, find me on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn, and hopefully we can continue this conversation.
And you are welcome to everyone who's saying this is wonderful. Thank you, Frank and Paul. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out to this evening. It's a little bit over time, but I don't mind a bit. I'm overjoyed that everybody came out. Thank you so much, Frank Alaniz, for giving us your time this evening.
Thank you.
and I'm going to